Hello. In this unit, I want to take a look at a different leadership style. In this case, we're going to look at something called transformational leadership. And transformational leaders are different than transactional leaders. Transformational leaders lead by offering a vision of the future and convincing the rest of us to believe in it and to follow them. These are the people who say, "Follow me, I'll lead you into the future." Typically, we see these people in situations where the rules don't work anymore. At the end of transactional leadership unit, we talked about transactional leadership failing when the world is on fire, when things are changing too rapidly, when we need to innovate, when we need to launch a new product, when we need to do something that we've never done before that's fundamentally risky and frightening. This is the time when we need transformational leaders. These are the people who can take us to a new state. Transformational leaders most critically have a vision for the future. They see a way in which the world could be different and could be better. It's clear to them, they have the ability to explain it to the rest of us, and they have great confidence in themselves to get there, to arrive at this new future. They also have the persuasive ability to convince the rest of us to follow them. So these are the people with a vision, with confidence, and with a silver tongue that can convince the rest of us to trust them and to follow them into this uncertain future. Personality type is extremely vital here. If you remember with transactional leaders, we said personality type was not particularly important, and that people with very different types of personalities could be an effective transactional leader. But not everyone is good at transformational leadership. Some people simply lack the traits that it takes, the skills that it takes to be effective, and there's really very little way to train for all of that. So, transformational leaders typically work with 4 tools, the 4 things that make transformational leadership possible. The first one, inspirational motivation. This is the capability of seeing this vision for the future and being inspired and having the motivation to seek that inspiring future. The future vision can be very clear, it can be a little hazy, it can be in the distant future or in the very near future, but it has to be something that hasn't happened yet, but the transformational leader believes is possible and is inspired by it. They then need intellectual stimulation. Thinking past the norms and conventions. This is the time and the person who says, what happens if we don't follow the rules? What happens if we change the rules? What happens if we do something new and different? They look past what is essentially the source of transactional leadership success, and they ask themselves, what could be different? Strong individualized consideration. They care about the people they are leading. They care that those people are successful. They want to bring those people to a better future. So they are then focused on these people. They have very high consideration, very high concern for people, if you remember an earlier unit. And the last thing they need is something called charisma that we'll look at in more detail. This is the ability to inspire confidence and commitment and often admiration of followers. So transformational leaders need the ability to understand and influence their followers, but they also need this magic power, charisma. Charisma is typically described as this magnetic aspect of a personality that attracts followers. It involves a powerful sense of self-confidence. You should have confidence in me because I have confidence in me. I radiate confidence. Anyone who is around me says, he's clearly going to be successful. He can lead us to a successful future. You give the impression clearly that you are likely to be successful, and that encourages people to follow you. That's a long description of a concept that's frankly still poorly understood, and I have yet to meet anybody who can effectively teach charisma as a behavior. We don't understand it very well, but we have a name for it. In fact, there is another school of leadership called charismatic leadership. that is, people who manage specifically off this element of charisma, and they lack some of the other capabilities that more traditional managers have. Charisma, it's like having a superpower. It can be used for good and evil. And history is filled with a number of truly horrible leaders who led people to very horrible places, but were able to do so because they had powerful charisma in their personality. So who are transformational leaders? They're heroes. They are the people who come to the rescue. When the world is on fire, when no one knows what to do, these are the people who save the day. They say, listen, we need to do this. We need to throw out the rules and change things. Follow me. They're entrepreneurs. Here's a picture of Steve Jobs, probably one of the most classical transformational leaders in modern business. He was able to completely change the way his company worked. He was able to completely change the way many of us lived our lives through his products and technologies. Revolutionaries. Gandhi saw a new vision of the world in which his country was free, and he led millions and millions of people into a world where they became free. His teachings then inspired other leaders throughout the world to do the same thing in their own countries. A classic and powerful transformational leader. In the right hands, transformational leadership is the single most powerful form of leadership. So we talk about personalities, we can talk about leadership styles. Transformational leaders can be democratic followers. Their followers can participate in decision making. They tend to care about what those followers think, so it's often a common practice to engage your followers, helping you make the decision. But there are times when transformational leaders can be quite autocratic. Military leaders who attract the loyalty and the obedience of their soldiers are seldom very democratic. The style is autocratic, but it's effective. However, there is no such thing as a laissez-faire transformational leader. You cannot be disengaged from your followers and allow them to make the decisions their own way. You must be engaged with them. When we look at those same leadership traits that we've examined before, in the case of transformational leadership, the three that are most important: intelligence, extroversion, and self-esteem. And self-esteem is far and away the most important. High self-esteem leads to high self-confidence. And the more confident you are in your own abilities to lead and to lead people to a successful vision, the more likely you are to attract followers and to be successful as a leader. You also need to be extroverted because transactional leaders are in the rules business. Transformational leaders are in the people business. So you must be able to relate to large numbers of different kinds of people. So let me end with a little story. How do you boil a frog? And the answer is slowly. If you put a frog into boiling water, it immediately leaps out. It realizes the water is too hot and it will die, and it attempts to escape. But if you put a frog in cold water and gradually turn up the heat, then the water becomes warmer and warmer, and by the time the frog realizes what's going on, recognizes that it's in trouble, it may be too late for it to escape. So how does a frog escape boiling? Transformational leadership. You need somewhere one frog who has a vision of the future in which all the frogs are boiled, and another vision of the future in which they can leap out of the pot and escape. And that frog has the confidence, it has the persuasive skills and the charisma to tell the other frogs, follow me, and lead them to leap out of the pot and into an uncertain future. So next time you're having frog legs, I want you to think about transformational leadership. That's transformational leadership, the most powerful and often the most important model of leadership that we have. I encourage you to read the chapter associated with this unit and to review the questions for this unit and to attempt to answer them yourself. If you're at all confused about transformational leadership, if you want to know more about how to be an effective transformational leader, then I recommend that you watch this video as often as you need.